All right, we're live, Bill. Are you ready for this?
I am so ready for this, Farley. I'm back. Mom, I actually made it this time.
Yeah. Uh, for those of you that I don't know, hadn't watched my channel much, uh, I think you'll all know Wild Bill Tressler, or as he's known when he's discussing aliens, William. Uh, he is a former member of Animosity. Well, I would say still a member because you guys are planning to do another show, right?
Yeah, we're going to do probably a reunion show here coming up next summer. We're hoping to, anyways.
Oh, so I'm just
Hell
going to
yeah.
say, not former member, continued founding member of the band Animosity out of Colorado.
Animosity!
But we've talked a lot, me and Bill, over the last, I don't know, 6, 7 months. Got to know him pretty well musically, but I've also gotten to know a lot of other things about him. And one of those things that I want to talk about today is extraterrestrial life. Um, Bill has been studying this for a long time now, and it's something that I'm extremely interested in. So beyond just the music that we talk about, there's all kinds of different things that we talk about. And aliens has come up as a frequent topic between me and him. I had no idea he was someone that studied this. And we were going to have you on last time, but due to a storm in your area, we weren't able to do an interview with you. And a guy that I think most of you know now from my last interview, Dale Harder. So it was unfortunate. I wanted you to be a part of that, but had a good conversation with Dale. But I want to talk to you about some things today. So say hello, Bill.
Hello, Bill. Yeah, how's it going, man? Just give a shout out to all my peeps that are listening right now. That's just everyone last time. Warcore, Shane Simmons this time. Don't want to backdoor him. Oh, my old singer Hale from Animosity might be listening in. My kids, Orissa, pretty much all that, and any extraterrestrial that might be listening in. It's going to be scandalous. We're going to talk some shit here, man. I mean, it's going to be a good time. I've been looking forward to this, man. I appreciate your audience. I want to say to the Gray Man and to Groovy Movie, or is that the
Yeah,
name of it?
Groovy
Groovy
Movie.
Movie. Yeah, those dudes were really kind to me the last time I did an interview with you, and just say hi to them, bip bomb boom, the whole thing. I hope you're all here. If not, hey, we're going with it, man. I mean, we don't have to worry about my credibility being shot because my credibility is already shot. I
Wait.
ate acid. I ate acid way too many times in my formative years. So any kind of any kind of bearing that might have on me providing evidence is thrown right out the window. So what I'm telling you is the truth because I've got nothing to gain because I've already lost.
So, but if you say your credibility's shot, that means you had credibility at one point.
At one point in time, yeah, maybe before I started all my rampant rock and rolling and drug use, I might have been able to pull this shit off, man. But so the experiences that I've had are personal in nature. And that doesn't mean they're any less impactful for me because obviously they were heavy enough for me to want to continue the study and for me to actually believe in the phenomenon. So, credibility don't mean shit because even the most credible person in the world, the detractors will tear him to shit. I mean, an astronaut can't even have a sighting without 1,000 people chiming in on a message board saying they're full of shit. I mean, so we're just going to go with it, man.
I'll tell you one thing that because I've been doing a little research, nothing like what you've been doing, because it interests me a ton, and I had no idea until actually yesterday. Jimmy Carter had a UFO sighting.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
he
if you
filled
knew
out
that.
a report and everything. Filled out a
Yeah,
report and everything.
yeah, I had no idea. And Jimmy Carter, he might have been a bad president, but he's somebody that I respect, and I wouldn't think that he would just make something up.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So,
And then there are other members like Kelly Johnson, one of the legendary spy plane pilots. He had a very intense sighting with his wife. I just found out about that the other day. I mean, so there are some good people with good credibility that have had dealings with this. Now, I still am very wary as about our government coming out with this whole thing, the disclosure of UFOs, because they've lied to us this entire fucking time, man. I mean, they're rotten people. They stomp their own. I mean, the whole thing. So just be wary. That's all I say. Now you're getting into this, the UFO phenomena, and that's cool. It's tough. There is a lake load of shit you've got to wade through, and you'll find the kernels of coolness. I find the older sightings that you go back to and you study are more genuine. I mean, because there's not a whole lot of CIG. There's not a whole lot of computer-aided technologies that can help hoax it or make it look like that. When the cameras they were using back then were, I mean, hard to fake shit on, especially those Polaroid spits it out and all that. So, I mean, just be wary when you're looking through the chaff of sightings.
So let's get back to you and kind of where you started at. Can you tell me the first experience you remember with any type of UFO, extraterrestrial phenomenon, or whatever?
Sure. Well, my interest really goes back to my childhood. My father had a UFO sighting out here in Calhoun that really kind of it confused him. He was impacted by it, and he told me about it. So supposedly he was driving home from working at the bar one night. We owned a bar out here, and a huge UFO came over one of the hills and just glided right past him. And it was so bright, he said, it lit up the entire field, and he could see individual stalks of grass and things like that. And it was completely silent. And he said it kind of freaked him out, So as a kid, I was like, well, the old man can't figure this out. Let's try and let's check this out. That's kind of crazy. You still getting me?
Yes, you sound. Everything's great right now.
Fantastic. Okay, so then I started up. I remember I didn't key it off as a UFO experience at the time. I wouldn't find out until later that a missing time episode is closely tied to UFO sightings and ET abductions. But when I was probably about 8 or 9 or 10, I was playing in the field out back of my house in Colorado Springs. There was a huge undeveloped tract out there, and we used to call it the foothills. We'd go hang out in the foothills. I was by myself one day, and it was probably about 3 p.m, and I was just going back there to play. And I remember my mother specifically told me, be home before it gets dark because we're having spaghetti and you're going to miss that. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. And I had plenty of time to make the date. And so I went to the foothills, and I remember laying back and just closing my eyes and enjoying the feel of the sun on my face. I believe I heard a buzzing noise, and then my next conscious memory is running home in a panic that I was late. It was completely pitch dark. I was, the place is only like a couple blocks away from my house, but it was strange how the memory went from me kicking back going, oh, this is a beautiful summer day, to, oh, fuck, I got to get home. My mom's going to be pissed, in the middle of running. I don't remember waking up, getting up, cognizing any of these activities or anything, just going from one to the other. And when I got home, I was in trouble. My mom was pissed that I wasn't, there in time for it. And I had to try and lie my way out of that situation. I just said, I don't know what happened. I think I lost track of time. But I consider that probably an early indicator of some kind of a alien abduction additive to my life, I'm pretty sure. Because it's strange. That's happened to me out here too. I've had more missing time experiences. And as a writer, I'm really into narrative flow. I don't like it when something happens that I can't account for the next moment. So that was one of the first things that occurred that really got me into the topic was my dad's story. Then I started getting into my band era, which 17 years old, 18. But started hanging out with this guy out here named John Tucker. He's a good dude. We would, hang out at his house, party, and watch the alien, the UFO documentaries, and people giving various talks like William Cooper, John Lear, things like that. And I started getting really heavy into that. I've had some personal experiences from there. One in Arizona with our old drummer from Animosity, Tony Terranova. We were driving through Arizona, and there were just all kinds of crazy lights. It was a really weird situation, one that I can't even cognize well right now, just because the memory's so spotty. It goes from one instance to something totally else, and but the whole thing helped key my interest in the thing. It's a crazy thing to not have that narrative flow be in its proper place or in its proper perspective, and it really fucks with me as a writer because I want to know what the fuck happened. I've had recent encounters out here since I've started living out here in Rama with my family. I've had very strange ones that really disturb me. I'll tell you about that one. It was early in the morning, not like it was light out. It wasn't dark, and there was a thick fog all around. Boom, just shrouded. So I was out there with my laser pointer because I like, seeing the laser light in the fog. And I was singing Monster Magnet lyrics, just wandering throughout my fields and doing that. And my next conscious memory is seeing a red light come through the fog and then nothing. And then I can't remember anything. There's a small memory of me still being in the fields and a rabbit coming up and sniffing the toe of my shoe. But I don't think that happened. It went from one moment, I'm out there just being a jerk and having a good time, to absolutely nothing. I can't remember even coming inside from there. And that really bugs me because I don't have normal memory lapses like that. I'm a writer, so I'm really into narrative flow. So things like that really bother the shit out of me, man. And I've got other stories, pretty heavy one that I'm probably going to tell you the next time if we do this again. It'd take up too much time because it's one of those way heavy epiphanous type experiences. But it all seems to happen out here. It all takes place out here in Rama, Colorado, which is 7 miles north of Callahan, Colorado, which is 34 miles east of Colorado Springs. So there's, it's like a ranching community, and it's a small populated area.
Yeah, that seems to be like a lot of things happen there. Arizona, of course, New Mexico. And I always wondered if that type geography plays into this.
Yeah, I would wonder too, because out here, there's so many military bases. You can't really trust what you see in the sky out here because this is all designated military air testing space. And so I'm more tuned to believe that this is like something that our government is working on. But then there have been sightings that absolutely I don't think could have been. That it goes way beyond the prosaic explanations and the craft that we supposedly have. So yeah, out here there's a big thing. I mean, it's kind of weird territory out here. I've had a cattle mutilation of my friend's ranch that happened right across the street. It was a crazy situation. I mean, it wasn't a mutilation like the kind you hear about, but what happened was their cow died. There were lights in the sky one night. One of their heifers died. And I went over there and looked at it, and my friend commented on it. And it went from being a bloated, nasty old corpse to dust in like a week. It was gone. It wasn't predators drawing from it. It all of a sudden disintegrated in the scope of a week. There weren't bones left on the scene, which is a strange thing. Very, very weird.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of the reports come, and I'm not just talking about like Roswell, but that whole area and being flat and like you were saying, not as populous as some other towns. One of the things like we have here and in a lot of states is lots of trees. So if they're doing things, I mean, I guess the issue would be they probably want to be away from the population and probably have flat land.
Sure. I mean, well, it seemed like, especially with the abduction phenomena, that they can take you pretty much anywhere they want to at any time. Now, that I don't know if that has to do with topography, personality type, bloodline. I don't know what that has to do with, but it's a crazy phenomenon. Yeah, out here, there are a lot of sightings like that. I remember I used to watch UFO documentaries like left and right all the time, and I was watching one by Linda Moulton Howe called A Strange Harvest, which is mostly about cattle mutilations. And I'm watching it, and then they show this barren armpit of the fucking universe landscape. And I'm like, wow, that place looks like a shithole like out here. And then it was like Callahan, Colorado, and I freaked out. So I watched it with a little more. I watched. Pardon me. I think I swallowed a fucking fly. The little bastards have been hounding me. But so I watched it with a little more interest. And yeah, there's a family out here named the Dezuris family. They're big out here. They're a ranching family. They're churchgoers, and they had a cattle mutilation that occurred that actually wound into an alien abduction that the matriarch of their family had and figured out through regression, through hypnotic regression. So, I mean, we have families out here that have experienced it. I've had personal experiences, cattle mutilation across the road. I mean, who knows what's going on? I mean, it's crazy.
I got a couple of people saying hey to us both. One of my buddies, Angel, who was here at the last one, Pages, Films, and Plastics, and then Epic Zombie Killer, which he was also here for part of the last one. So,
Oh, right.
hey guys, welcome, and they say hello to you, Ben.
Right on. What's up, y'all? Good to have you.
I'm good too, by the way. Epic Zombie Killer. So I think we kind of went over to your other experiences after your very first one. Let me ask you this. I mentioned earlier we were going to talk with you and Dale Harder at the last live feed that we did, but because of the storm out your way, you weren't able to participate. So can you tell me how you met Dale Harder?
Yeah, man. It was kind of cool. I was hanging out over here, it was, like 11 o'clock at night or so. I was getting tooled up, man. Bloody Marys, to the to the midnight hours, and I was getting ready to listen to Coast AM, which is an AM radio program that has to do with paranormal topics. And now with Coast AM, it could go one of two ways. It could be a really good show, or it could be a really stupid show like Angels and how they impact superfoods and your dietary needs and shit like that. So I was like, well, we'll see how this we'll see how this carries on. I mentioned that the first hour guest was going to be Dale Harder, ex-NASA meteorologist who claims to be an ET. And I was like, well, that's right up my fucking alley. So I tuned into that. And I'm listening to the dude, man, and he's, got a voice like a field full of idling Harleys, it seems like a nice dude, but he mentioned something that really caught my interest. And that was how he was talking about how he communicates with members of his extraterrestrial race that are here, the Pleiaren, from the Pleiades cluster. He says that he would have communications with those people in the spaceships by what he called flashbulb communications. They would respond to him mentally, but they would flash him in the sky to let him know that they were listening to him or whatever code that he had with them. And the flashbulb communication thing really caught my attention because I've been out here stargazing for a couple of years, 3 a.m. It's so low populated out here. We have very little ambient light. So the nighttime sky is just amazing. I mean, the stars you can see every single one of them out here on a clear night when there's no moon. And so for a good long while now, I've been seeing these flashbulb lights in the sky that would just happen out of nowhere. It would be all of a sudden, a light would just go jump, boom, and then pull back. And I would say, what the fuck was that, And it would happen again at the same spot. Sometimes it would happen at another spot in the sky. But it's like a really, really bright light that almost be as bright as like the moon, say, a full moon. It'd hold on for a second and then go back to complete blackness. And I noticed, being the silly poetic shit that I am, that whatever I would like say to it in my mind, it almost seemed to reply to that. It almost seemed to respond. I mean, I know it showed itself to my son and daughter by my asking it to. It did. So I didn't know what the hell this was, man. I was like, well, I've seen things burn up in the atmosphere before, and it wasn't that. I've seen, shooting stars. It wasn't that. I've seen all manners of prosaic aircraft out here, helicopters, drones, all that. There's nothing like that. And so I'm like, wow, is this like some kind of an experimental test ship that is going into afterburn, and I'm witnessing the thing flare up? I'm not sure. So what I'm listening to Dale Harder say this, and he mentioned the flashbulb communications, and that really keyed me because I said, well, that's pretty crazy. I listened to his whole show. Seemed like a really cool dude. And this was also coinciding with my first like real iPhone, so I didn't really have internet access at that point. This is only a few years ago. I'm kind of a primitive when it comes to that. But so I decided to shoot him off an email, and I long rambled drunk email of my concocting. And I told him about, wow, I didn't know there was such thing as a flashbulb communications and blah, blah. And the strange thing was that he got back to me the next day. He emailed me back. And I know that he was probably pretty taxed, because if you go on Coast to Coast AM, I mean, all the people, they have such a huge listenership that it'll knock down your server with all the people trying to go to your site and check things out and communicate. So it was really cool that he took the time out to respond to me. And it was a good detailed response. So we started our back and forth together, just emailing, and like maybe in the third or fourth one, he said, well, you seem pretty intelligent. Here's my phone number. Give me a call. Let's talk live. And so that was really my first introduction to Dale Harder and his story. I actually obtained rights to his story to write about him. So I'm kind of his unofficial biographer. But there were some really strange coincidences that occurred that almost made me think that, what he was saying was true. Knowing Dale as a man, I believe him. I believe that he believes what he's talking about, and he's just such a nice guy. He would go out of his way for you. He would, at his own nickel. He's really kind. He doesn't have any books or any merchandise or any videos out, so he's not trying to sell his shit. He's not trying to hawk his wares. He's just a good dude that out of his own nickel goes to some of these conventions and talks about what he has come to believe.
Yeah, and tell everybody kind of what, because I know there's going to be people out there that's going to be, oh, here's another wacko talking about aliens. But tell everybody, what was Dale's job?
Dale was a metrologist for NASA for many years, and that is someone who deals with like the timing of the basic spaceships and all that. It has to do with like the clocks, and as far as I can tell, that's what a metrologist does. And he's held some high up positions in like other like aerospace businesses too. So he's a high functioning human. He has two of his own businesses, HHR Lasers and HHR Exotic Speakers, which are, he's got people all over the world that will buy his speakers. He builds them from the ground up. He creates lasers. He's a really credible dude when it comes to that. Now, of course, there are wackos out there that, can lie to the best of us, man. But Dale didn't come across as that kind of a person. I don't like to think that I'm a rube or anything. I might be the biggest rube in the fucking world, but I have enough of distrust of my fellow humans that I will try to back up what they're saying rather than just accept it wholeheartedly. And he seems to be a really cool dude. I had a couple of experiences that lend credence to his story. I'll tell you about the tarot card issue. We were talking about this the other night, and
yeah.
The first couple of times that I spoke to him on the phone, it was really cool. I got to interview this. Now, this is like, say you're a fan of baseball and you get to sit down with Hank Aaron for an hour. Just pester him with all these fucking thoughts, man, and all these questions. And I just hit him up with everything, and although I wasn't ass kissy. If there was a question or if there was a problem with something, I would point it out. And Dale's cool enough to where if he doesn't have the answer for something, he doesn't try to make it up. He just goes, I don't fucking know. So I had my wife, Jennifer, do a tarot card reading on Dale. Just a run-of-the-mill, generic tarot card reading. Who is this guy and what is he claiming and is he believable? She did this tarot card reading, and that kind of freaked me out because I was still kind of up in the air about tarot card readings anyways, but she's going through his cards, and his significator card came up as the star card. Now the star card is really weird because its feature is a naked individual, naked meaning truthful and honest and bare before the world. This naked person is pouring out a jug of water into a river. So he's like adding his knowledge to an already established body of knowledge. Above him, while he's looking above, there are 7 stars above his head. 7 stars make up the Pleiades cluster, which is really fucking strange. Out of all the cards to pick, I get this dude, honest to all, pouring knowledge into an already established lake of knowledge, and the 7 stars overhead. That really freaked me out. I brought it up to him, and he was like, yeah, it sounds like she was spot on with a lot of that. So that really surprised me. That doesn't come up. You can't half deck that. My wife isn't, trying to freak me out or anything like that. It was a legitimate reading. I'm the one who did the cutting of the cards and shuffled them, which was what I had to do in order for her in order for her to access that or something. I still don't really get the mechanics of it, but so that really kind of freaked me out. I mean, anyone who knows anything about tarot, look at your star card. That was his significator card. There were some other things too, like, just what cards would come up really pointed to that this person was being honest. Now, I found since then that the cards could have been telling me, yes, this is what he thinks, not this is the truth of the matter. This is the situation. He is this. This is what he thinks. But from the dealings I've had with him on the phone, talking to him, I mean, I would have to say that he appears really credible to me. He's a nice guy. I mean, he's a really nice guy.
He doesn't seem to, just based on the interview I did with him, he doesn't have an agenda. He's not out here trying to say, believe this and trying, like you were talking about earlier, he's not self-promoting. He has no books, no videos to sell. So it's not like he's out here pushing books or documentaries or anything like that. He's just, he seems like a really down-to-earth, genuine guy with no agenda hidden behind it besides just getting his message to those that'll listen.
Yeah, and a person like him has way more to lose than to gain in coming out with shit like this. I mean, I can only imagine, well, will NASA hire him back now? I don't know, probably. He's that technically capable of a person. But, so yeah, he has way more to lose than he has to gain by coming out of this.
Exactly. Angel, Pages, Films, and Plastics says that, and he mentioned this last time, I think, he had a UFO sighting in 1980. And he mentions that he's really would like to see a gray. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Angel, but that was in Puerto Rico, I believe. That's where he lives. And he had a sighting back in 1980. And he's really, really into these kind of things.
Really, yeah, that'll certainly kickstart you and your interests, man. Any kind of a personal experience, you bet. I would like to see one myself if I haven't. I have had missing time experiences, so who knows, man? We could have been playing the hide the anal probe this entire time. I'm not sure, and now in me stating that I believe Dale, or at least believe that Dale believes. And I'll go out on a limb and I'll say that I believe him. I think he's a credible dude. He's a nice enough guy. I couldn't see him just making this lifetime lie up. Now, with Dale, and a cool thing about his story is that all throughout his life, when he was doing most of the shit, he didn't know whether or not this was true. It was this heavy instinct, these flashbulb communications with ships that would come around his house in Parma, Ohio. I mean, so he has telepathic abilities. He always knew that he was different, but it wasn't until he and I had started being friends that the whole thing was confirmed, that supposedly his Plejaran brethren rediscovered him on the planet, beamed him up. They started having talks. He reunited with his Plejaran family. And then, I mean, so I was like, well, score up for the biographer on this one, man, because this is not somebody who thinks they're going through something in life and then they die and you never know one way or the other. He started having interactions with the Plejaran in real time, as I'm talking to him. One even gave me an explanation as to what my tattoo is. I have crop circle tattoos on me. And I was like, well, ask him what this one means. And I got back a really, really cool, detailed description of what my tattoo represents, and had to do with the Trinity of the Egyptian lore and all kinds of shit, man. But so that's kind of cool about Dale, that he got confirmation of that in his lifetime, and he's still dealing with it now. But that doesn't mean that I don't find certain aspects of the Plejaran story fucking hokey or kind of full of shit, because there are a couple of things. Well, I also found out that the Dale's brethren, these Plejaran, are also the same ones that were involved in the Billy Meyer contact story. Now, I don't know if anyone out there knows about the Billy Meyer contact story, but he was like one of the biggest contact stories when UFOs first started hitting the major circuits and all that. And he has footage, I mean, crazy photographs and videos of the craft landing, coming and leaving from his place in Switzerland. And he's a one-armed dude, man. I mean, I couldn't see him hoaxing all of this, but this is the same family that Dale is a part of, which is kind of crazy. I mean, one of Billy Meyer's contacts was named Semyasi, a woman, the hot blonde extraterrestrial woman, and Dale had actually talked to Semyasi on the ship one day, and I was amazed. That was kind of crazy. But some of the aspects of this story bug me, like I've gotten into conversations with Dale about this before, like the fact that I'm not buying the prime directive of non-interference with our species. That's why they can't more overtly help us or contact us or show themselves, because supposedly there's this prime directive of non-interference with our species that they abide by. And I was like, dude, I think that's pretty much shot to shit when you've got members of your race already contacting one-armed dudes in Switzerland. They have a website like called the Alcyon Pleiades, where you could, you see what their jibe is. They put out a new one like every month or something like that. But it's like, so I think you pretty much pissed on the prime directive of non-interference with our species by having websites, by showing yourself to certain people, by doing so. Just fucking help us, I mean, what the hell? He claims that they won't bat an eye if like our planet's about ready to get wiped out by an oncoming meteor or something like that. And I'm like, well, get rid of the kids. Fuck, the proper nomenclature in the matter. Fucking help us out, man. I mean, so if there's any member of Dale's family listening to this, I would like to say to them, help! Don't be so fucking stodgy. Fucking, it's time to let us integrate us into this higher community, because you've already shown yourself to members of our civilization. And then, I mean, it's what it is, the prime directive of non-interference with our species. Not buying it, man. Time to send it away.
So, hearing you talk, so you and this UFO phenomenon, you're not just going off what other people say. You're researching. You're finding your own data and making your own decisions. I believe this is trustworthy. This is not. Has that something that you've been doing that for a while now, the research?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, it's not so much research as it is just keeping up on like the videos and whatever documentaries come out. I mean, I watch them like crazy, but I don't only watch like the true believers. I watch also what the debunkers are saying. I watch the whole thing. I've been reading. I'm an avid reader, so I've been reading up on this subject the entire time. And what I find interesting is I like to watch the watchers. I like to investigate the investigators. So I've been keeping my eye on the people that are bringing the stories forward, members of the ufological community, that some of them have great stake in what they're writing about and published about and all that. Others don't really. Some are outright hoaxers. Some of the debunkers are just ridiculous. I mean, the one dude who tried saying that the Woodbridge Bentwaters UFO story, which was an incredible sighting that happened over at Bentwaters overseas in a nuclear base over there, that said the whole thing had to do with a bunch of panicky members of the army or of that military base missighting, what was it? It was something like there was it was a tower in the distance that had a light attached to it. What the hell is it called, man? A lighthouse. Yes, a lighthouse. There was a lighthouse in the background that they maybe could have seen from their base that these panicky military workers just freaked out about and got into this group hysteria about, which, I mean, that's just completely lame. I mean.
Speaking of Lighthouse, though, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's really good.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying. Well, I've tried to separate the wheat from the chaff in this phenomenon, and it's a tough phenomenon to do that in, because basically the entire phenomena is full of shit. Everyone's lying to you. The government is lying to you. The researchers push their own agenda, and they're presenting shit after being fed shit. And it's really tough to find what's going on. Now, in this day and age, it's even harder to with the internet, because there's just such a glut of everything you could imagine. I mean, good sightings, recent sightings, notable hoaxes, things like that. It's almost impossible to focus on one really good sighting and to investigate the bone out of it, because there's the next time that there's 18 more coming in that some are credible, some aren't.
Angel says, and this is something I think you talked about a few minutes ago, is for them to help us. he says, wouldn't it be nice if they could help us with COVID, with the COVID virus?
Well, I think they need to fucking help us at some point in time, even if it's just ramping up their visual sightings in order to get more people into it, because there is a genuine phenomena on the UFO situation that deserves better scientific study, less mocking scientific study, because, you know, everyone makes fun of this shit, man, but it's been going on for a long time. And the more research you do, you realize that it's been going on since we've been keeping records and are being able to talk about it. I mean, from a sighting in Egypt that happened that was written down in papyrus. I mean, everything in between. The Anunnaki story from the Sumerians, which is now modern day Iraq. Our history is peppered with tales of space beings coming down, assuming godhood dominion over their personality, and then interacting with humans to varying degrees. Our history is peppered with that shit. And only now that we have so many people with little cell phone cameras and the surveillance state is up and running, are we starting to get really, really good sightings normally. Now, is that to say that all of these are extraterrestrial from beyond our solar system? No, I don't believe that. I believe that maybe there is a percentage of these sightings and occurrences that are extraterrestrial based. Probably the older you go back in time, probably is more true. But it's just you can't just say, you know, that's the whole thing. It's extraterrestrials or it's hoaxers. You know, I mean, that's too black and white. So I don't know, man. It's a crazy situation to try and make sense of, because for every person that's into it, you'll find 100 that are completely saying, "Oh, he's full of shit." You know, I mean, I met a person in the bar one night when I was tending bar, a guy from Snowflake, Arizona, who knows. He was a dude who did. His story was featured in the movie Fire in the Sky. Travis Walton, and This dude knew Travis Walton personally. Went to high school with him, and I said, "Well, what kind of person is he? I mean, is he telling the truth?" Dude was like, "No, he's probably full of shit, man. He was a druggie and blah 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 and all that, but he stood behind his story this whole time." So it's really hard to tell definitely what is going on and to stand behind it and say this is what's going on. It's difficult to do that.
We talked the other day about Whitley Strieber. Can you tell people just a quick synopsis of Whitley Strieber and then the story you had about his biographer, or a guy writing a story about him?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, Whitley Strieber, he's a horror novelist. He's written such books as like The Wolf Inn. A really good writer in the horror genre. And he had a series of abduction events that occurred to him that really kind of freaked him the fuck out, man. I mean, it started tearing his family life around. So this dude threw the battery of things at it. Like, he made sure that he didn't have temporal lobe epilepsy. He wanted to know what the aspect of this reality was. Was it a reality? Was it some kind of a hypnagogic hallucination? Was it extra dimensional? Being a writer, he's really into narrative flow like I am. So he wanted to fucking study the shit out of it. And he started, you know, having actual face-to-face encounters with extraterrestrials, the Greys, and certain other beings. And so he wrote his story Communion about that, and he wrote it as a true story. And, you know, a lot of people were giving him flack, saying, "Oh, well, you're a horror writer. Did it bring up your book sales any? Ha, ha, ha." So many years after all of his books went down and this whole thing was going on, there was a guy named Ed Conroy who was going to do a biography on Whitley Strieber. He ended up writing a book called The Report on Communion. And this dude, I mean, he tracks down every aspect of Whitley's early life, like childhood friends, acquaintances, teachers, people that knew him from back then and know him now. What kind of a person was he? And they gave pretty good reviews on him. But when Ed Conroy was writing the story, he had experiences that occurred to him, not only abduction experiences, but government intrusion into his life, black helicopters coming by his work and hovering right by his window and shit like that. I mean, so weird shit started happening to the dude as a result of him insinuating himself into the research that he was doing on the story. So, I mean, is it for real? I don't know, man. A lot of this, you have to pull that shit. You have to say, "Oh, I don't know if it's fucking real or not." All I can do is I can testify from my own stories because I was there and I know how impactful they were. But I mean, I read all of all of Whitley Strieber's books. And they're very entertaining reads. If it is a true account, then he really, really, he went forward and tried to get the details, like actually asked one of the extraterrestrials if he could smell him, just so he could have that sense memory in his mind that would show him that this is not just a hallucination. You're not dreaming this. This isn't some kind of a weird mind control freak out. He has the smell of the extraterrestrial still in his databank, his memories databank. So things like that. I would recommend anyone read Whitley Strieber's books, but Ed Conroy's Report on Communion, it's very eye-opening. I mean, very thorough. And then the things that happened to him were really, really strange that he can't even really explain.
And he's no relation to Pat Conroy. We talked about.
Not that I know of. No, I'm not sure.
He didn't write The Prince of Tides. Everybody, that's not him. It might be.
I don't believe so. No.
Tell me about UFO versus UAP. What is that, and which side do you follow?
All right. Well, they're trying to change the official language of how UFOs are tagged. Now, it used to be flying saucers. I remember that from way back in the day. There's some old researchers that still harken back to that and use the flying saucers term. And then it became UFOs, unidentified flying objects, which is a pretty generic term, but it's the one I got started on. I like UFOs. And so now they're recently trying to put forth UAPs. That's the official nomenclature in the government circles. They talk about it, which is unexplained aerial phenomenon. And so they're trying to switch it over to where that, we don't talk about UFOs, we talk about UAPs. And a lot of it has to do with the stigma that is attached to the term UFO. There's so many debunking instances. There's hoaxes, all kinds of the government fucking being shitheads and lying a whole bunch about UFOs. So they want to try and push that aside and give it a squeaky clean new acronym to go off of. Now, personally, I don't like UAP. I just compare it, the words or the phonetic sounding words, to UFO, UAP. One sounds more questioning and clueless, UAP, and UFO sounds more UFO. I mean, there's just something it's not much to base a theory about, but I like the sound of the term UFO better than UAP. UAP? What UAP, motherfucker?
Hey, real quick. Are you Pluto? Should it still be a planet or no?
Yeah, well, why not? Man, they already said it was. You don't think so? You think it should be? You think you like it? You like
a planet? Yeah.
Yeah. Let it have
Pluto.
Let it have its planetary status. I also have a thing that I want them to change the name of Uranus to my anus.
That never happened.
Yeah, I know. But damn, it'd be sure fun to try. Just like, I want them to change the name of that lake of Titicaca, Lake Titicaca, to Lake Booby Poo Poo. Just because, let's stir some shit up, man. But,
Literally. We talked about flashbulb, and so this is something I'd never heard before, and we talked about it the other night. Tell me about your Great Leap theory.
Well, it's not even really a theory. It's just there's a great leap that many people make. Everyone from witnesses to this effect to people who put out documentaries. Whenever they say, "What do you think it was that was in the skies that night?" People will always say, "Oh well, I think it's extraterrestrials." Now that's a little bit of a giant leap. It's a great leap to make from anything else that. It's either not human-based or misidentified prosaic explanations or anything like that to say, well, it is extraterrestrials from beyond our solar system. Because I think that cuts down your suspect pool quite a bit. I think a good portion of the UFO sightings that have occurred, at least in our history, it harkens back to the great builder race that was on our planet at some point in time of history, probably before the flood, the antediluvian times. There are legends of Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu, this culture that supposedly had high technology, and someone was running around and they were cutting out all the megalith constructions that are on the planet, doing all the pyramids, sites like, let's see, Cuzco, all the pyramids, Göbekli Tepe, Pumapunku, Angkor Wat. If you look up any of these places, even on Google Earth them, you'll find these incredible megalithic constructions that in Pumapunku, some of the stone cutting that is done, we can't even replicate now to this day. Let alone how are they going to move some of these multi-ton blocks of stone up a mountain to make these places like in Cuzco and Sexahuaman and places like that. I mean, so I think that this builder race, which was around, that we have evidence of through the monolithic and megalithic structures that they've populated our planet with. I think so. We have evidence of that. And they claim that proponents of the Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu story claim that, well, this culture killed itself off. It went away, self-extincted in a large cataclysmic event. Now, if that happened, and it might have very well happened, it doesn't. It would be a stretch to think that they went extinct to a person. Like if something cataclysmic happened, even to our planet, there would be survivors, remnants of the survivors of the cataclysm. Like we'd have the people in the space stations. Whatever happened, there would be people alive that would have survived the cataclysm. And I think elements of this culture survived the cataclysm, and they relocated probably with our artifacts of that technology, of that high technology that they used. I think that a good portion of the UFO sightings probably can be related to that or placed at the curb of that. And because it's kind of hard to think about extraterrestrials, how far away Proxima Centauri is, how long it would take you just by puttering along at our present level of technology when it comes to space travel. You'd never get here. And so it seems like it almost seems more probable that remnants of this high society, high civilization that survived the cataclysm, and then they repopulated places like maybe the dark side of the moon, Mars, which might be the reason why that seems to show evidence of a past civilization on it. Beneath our oceans. They could have relocated to beneath our oceans, places where, we don't really have ready access to. And then, of course, while they're maintaining their stance, the human race is still going about its little meandering through evolutionary time. And then we see these craft that far, excel beyond anything that we have at the time, especially if you go beyond the, lighter than air travel. A lot of people are fucking, they would say, well, oh my God, it's that craft that was in the sky, the thing that I witnessed, it has to be an extraterrestrial craft. It doesn't mean it has to be extraterrestrial. It doesn't have to go beyond our solar system. I think that high civilization of great technology that did the stone cutting and did the monolithic constructions, I think an aspect of them survived and probably at least a core of the amount of the sightings that we get here. They would be very interested in our comings and goings because our planet is their planet. They would, and that's why there would be so many of them. That's why we have so many sightings of different crafts and all that. It's not because they're all coming in from a million light years away. I mean, where would they be staying in the point in time? There's not like, Motel 6, out in the goddamn solar system that they can hang out at. I mean, I see Don Bodette. It will leave a light on for you. Bullshit, man. But so it's possible that this aspect of human history, and that doesn't have to say that they should that they're humans either. They don't even have to be human based. There's evidence that a culture that was during our history here had those elongated skulls, and they looked really weird. They looked really different and anti-human than we are now. So they don't even have to look human in order for this story to have some kind of credence to it. Now that's what I think the great leap is, that everyone automatically assumes that it's an extraterrestrial based. I think that a good portion of them, I'm not saying all of them, I mean, for sure, there are possibly extraterrestrial members or sightings that have occurred. Like I said, the further back you go, probably more so than the others. But so I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket that it's all that or all that. But a good portion of them probably come from our planet's remote past, and it's just remnants of that builder race and that technologically high civilization. And that's what I think. That's my big theory. It's kind of hard for me to say because I'm trying to condense 30 years worth of fucking of picking and fucking hunting and fucking this phenomena and trying to condense it into a half an hour, 45-minute show. It's hard because I don't have all the notes. I can't just give ready access to the things I've read, the shows I've watched, all that. But that's the theory that I've come to, at least this far in my life.
I got you. I think for me, one of the big things about there being more sightings out that way in the flatlands, the deserts, is because they're around military bases. And I think a lot of these sightings we have ships that have came here, and we're trying to figure out how to fly them, how to use them. And I think a lot of that may be test flights and things like that, especially out towards New Mexico.
Sure, absolutely. I do believe that there is a good proportion of the crash retrieval stories that are true, and that would explain a lot about why the cover up, why the UFO cover up came and was clamped down so intensely, especially Roswell. You think about Roswell, a large flap of UFO sightings occurred just after we detonated the first atomic bomb at the Trinity site. Boom. And then we dropped them on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Boom. And then it seemed like the world was just loaded up with all kinds of UFO sightings. And at the time, our government was the fattest kid with the biggest stick in the playground. And it would have been very difficult for them to come out and admit that there were aircraft that were routinely outflying their fastest airplanes and just running circles around them. That had to be hard for them to say that these UFOs can come into our atmosphere at any point in time. And there were a lot that visited the nuclear sites throughout our country and a lot of the military bases. But these things could come in and out at will. We would send off a couple of jets to go intercept them, and they would just fly circles around these things and book off. Pew. And of course, their fear was, is it going to be Russian? Is it something from, another country? And the other countries were asking the same thing. Is this American technology? Is what's going on? So I can understand why the UFO cover-up would have started. I think that now they've lied so much, and for so many years, they've lied themselves into a corner. And another aspect of my Great Leap theory is don't make the Great Leap to believe these motherfuckers, because our government, the higher ups, the ones that control our governments, as well as the governments of the planet, the other governments, I think are full of shit just by their who they are and what they're doing. They stomp our own government, the MK Ultra experiments that they performed on their own citizens. Just go through the black list of horrible things our government has done to not only the people of the world, but their own target populace. You're going to realize these people are fucking rotten. It's an all or nothing game with them. And so don't go thinking that because they're claiming disclosure and they're saying, okay, we want to come out with the truth here, that they're going to be telling the fucking truth. Because I don't believe our government is capable of telling the truth.
Oh, God, look, you saw the Navy disclose the sightings with the planes, but then the government was quick to kind of shoot that. I don't know if you saw it, but the Navy puts this out, and then the government's like, well, this probably wasn't a sighting. This was this or this. So it's almost like one branch of government not talking to the other about what to say. And they're not going to give us the whole history. They're going to give us bits and pieces, but they're never going to be completely honest and release all of it to us.
Absolutely. The ingredients for invisible ink are still highly classified. You can't get them. It's highly classified and beyond our purview because they overclassify everything that they have any kind of interest with. I completely agree with you. They're kind of debunking their own people's stuff. That Navy sighting stuff, while it was cool that they're breaking out with it and they're kind of showing the spirit of disclosure in doing that, Could they have used any shittier cameras? I mean, oh my God, you'd have to think that these nuclear capable vessels would have some kind of decent fucking video system on them, man. Instead, we get these grainy shit black and white videos, and it's like, come on, man, break out the fucking
Clear.
Xbox and not the Atari, you know.
Yeah. It's like you get better camera footage of missile strikes in Iraq than you would of any type of
Yeah,
alien spacecraft.
yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's their big shit. That's what they're coming out with. I was like, please, man, that's hardly worth it.
Yeah. So we're gonna start wrapping it up. A couple things I want to bring up before we do that, though. Uh, if somebody was out there and wanted to start, is there a book or website or podcast or anything that you would recommend for people that are interested but don't know where to go?
Wow. Back in the day, and I'm an old fart. The internet was called books, and I read a number of really, really good books that got me into it. A couple of the books now, I would have to say Ed Conroy's Report on Communion, just for that aspect, the Whitley Strieber aspect is a good thing to read. Now, Timothy Good, Goode, wrote a book called Above Top Secret. Now, that thing is that thick, and it is just loaded in high echelon type individual sightings. You're talking military people, pilots, astronauts. That's like the entire compendium of sightings from just that caliber of witness. So check out Timothy Good's Above Top Secret. Anything written by Stanton Friedman. He was just so open, and he puts it in such a way that he's easy to follow when you read him. But there are some websites that I like going to. I do like Mavi 777, MAVI 777, but they only show you the sightings that they get, the UFO sightings. They don't try and say, well, this is what we think it is, or they don't dissect the whole thing and try and get to the truth of the matter.
Is that the people that got the picture from you?
Yes,
You
I got the video from us. And if anyone's interested, they can come to my YouTube site, go to William Tressler, just search that at YouTube. That's WILLIAM. Tressler is TRESSLER. Search that, and like fourth or fifth one down is my UFO sighting in Falcon that my wife and I had and took video of. Yeah, so they featured us one time. There's another YouTube site called Art Alien TV. I really like this dude because he does detailed analysis on like what they're finding on Mars, what the rover has been spitting back to us for what's on Mars and all that. There's all kinds of weird shit on Mars. Looks like remnants of a destroyed civilization all over the place. You can't look at one of those pictures or whatever they send back to us. You can't look at it without saying, well, that looks fucking weird. That looks weird, you know. Third Phase of Moon, they're always good. They have a pretty good.
That one?
Third Phase of Moon.
Third Phase?
Yeah, Third Phase of Moon. They're pretty cool to watch. Just because they'll have a sighting or footage from a sighting, and then they'll try and have their experts or the people that they rely on try to hash it out and say what it is. You know, they seem to be pretty truthful and all that. But go back to your old videos. Go back to your old documentaries, man. Everyone should watch Bob Lazar and UFOs and Excerpts from the Government Bible. That's a great video. You can get it on YouTube. All kinds of shit. All those old talks that people would do, like anything by William Cooper. I don't agree with everything they say, but at the time they were going with what they had. And shit like that, man. The older you go, almost the better, especially if you want just a first timers all around, and to learn about shit. Cause they'll go over the Roswell sighting. They'll go over all the initial fucking sightings that I've heard and have read about and watched videos about since time immemorial. It's good for people who are starting out. And I think that a lot of people are showing more of an interest in this phenomena because of the fact of how much airtime it's getting now, and the Navy sightings, and how many people have cameras towards the sky. So, if you want to research it, man, it's out there to be researched. Just don't believe everything you fucking read or hear, and try to get some personal confirmation, man. If someone has an abduction sighting in your neighborhood or a UFO sighting, go talk to them about it, man. There's nothing that says you can't drop them a letter and see, hey, give me more information on this. I'd like to know more. You can do that, I found.
Yeah. Angel says that governments always cover up what they don't understand or anything that might threaten the status quo. The status quo thing, I agree with. That's the government doesn't want people out here asking questions. That's why they're releasing little tidbits of things, but then immediately they attack them. And it's like the Navy. They let the Navy release footage of the sighting, but then here comes the government to shoot it down. Now, well, we don't believe it was this or that. So even if they release information, they're still going to attack parts of it because they're afraid of people finding out the truth.
Yeah, for sure. And that Roswell instance, they've gone through so many revisions of their own fucking story. They'll say, oh, it was nothing. It was just, this, that, and the other. And then they tried saying, well, okay, it's a weather balloon, they said. And then they said, well, it was a weather balloon, but it was a really special kind of weather balloon, the Project Mogul weather balloon. And so there's a reason there that we had, it's all a bunch of shit. The listener, Angel, sounds like he's got a lot going on, man. I invite him to come to my email site. My email address is dapperdanman000@gmail.com. And just tell me your story, man. It sounds like, that's cool. I'd like to hear more about his story too. The Puerto Rican
he's one of the
sighting.
best people I've come across in the YouTube community. Well, just in general. Like, I've never met the guy, but he feels like somebody I've known for 20 years. I call him my big bro. He calls me his little bro. I mean, he's just a really good guy, and he is open to, getting at things and then making his own decision about that, whatever he receives, evidence, photos, websites, that kind of stuff. So, plus he's got a personal experience.
Yeah, everyone needs something like that too. I mean, and that's the reason why Dale started taking my calls, because I'm a blithering moron, but I'm not that blithering, and I can at least put a sentence together or two. And obviously, there's people are dying for other people of like mind to hash this out with them. So, I mean, I'm excited that you're getting into this, Farley. I mean, I want to know more. If we ever do this again, I want to know more about why, what your interest in the sightings are and what you've discovered, because everyone has a little bit of the solution, but not everybody. One person doesn't know all of it, but we all have a little bit of it.
So you're saying we need to do this again?
I would like to do this again, sure. I've got some stories out here that would I would tell you about my alien language download that happened to me out here 20 years ago. It's a huge story. It's crazy. Not a day goes by that I don't think about it and haven't thought about it since it happened. But we can get into more shit then rather than push the ticks of the clock even further than we have.
Yeah. Well, I love talking to you. I could talk to you about anything: music, aliens, history, conspiracy theories. There's a lot of stuff that we've talked about, and I appreciate you not only being open to interviews, but also kind of taking me under your wing and explaining a lot of this stuff about your beliefs with the aliens. And then, of course, we always talk about music too, but kind of branching off into this has been really, really cool because it's something I've wanted to kind of talk about and learn more about. So I appreciate you taking out the time to talk to me and kind of, give me a little nudge, because it's something I've been interested in a long time, but I really hadn't had anybody talk about. Because where I live, if I'm in Georgia in the Bible Belt, so if they feel like if aliens are real, then it's going to destroy a lot of people's faith in Christianity.
Yeah.
And I don't see the two equating. I mean, can you believe in God and still believe that there's extraterrestrials? I believe you can, but that's up for each individual. But I want to say thank you for that, and it was good to talk to you again, man. And anybody else that was here that didn't talk, thanks for stopping by, but I appreciate you, Bill.
Hey, man, I appreciate you too. Good talking to you. You do this anytime because I love hearing myself talk.
Have a good night, man. You take care. Everybody else take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace out. Yeah.